Hey everyone, this is Sav. Welcome to my channel, a place where you'll find lessons and tips, covers, and original music. This video is part of a beginner series where we cover things like tuning the guitar, changing strings, dialing in a good tone, how to hold your guitar, and proper playing technique. So, if you're a beginner, you're in the right place. Today we're going to be talking about different ways that you can use to tune your guitar, like a portable tuner, a tuner pedal, tuning to another instrument, using a smartphone app, or using software like the tuner in your DAW or going to a website. We're going to talk about a few different methods on how to tune your guitar in this video, using a tuning pedal, using a portable tuner, using software, and even a tuning app. Once we're in tune, or while you're tuning even, typically if you're tuning all 6 strings, you want to go low to high, so you're going to start with the low E string, and it's good practice to play each string twice. So if I start with the low E string, I'll play it twice. And then move on to the A string. The D string. The G. I'm going to stop there for a moment because I hear that my G string's out of tune. So the next part of tuning, which is the important part, is that we're going to have to make adjustments using our cap stands on our headstock. So I'm going to adjust the camera here slightly. And in this case, it's my G string. So and when you're tuning up, you want to make small adjustments. So you don't want to really twist on these or overturn them. You want to make just small adjustments until you get the string back to pitch. I think right about there will put us back in tune. Let me go ahead and check my last 2 strings. So I'm going to check the B string. And the high E string. Once we're in tune, it's always good practice to check if the guitar is in tune with itself. So there's a couple ways that I like doing that. One way is the 5th fret method on the guitar. So if you're at the 5th fret, what you're going to want to do is play the note on the 5th fret of the low E string, which is A, followed by the open A string. And then you're going to repeat that on the A string. So we're going to play the note D on the A string, followed by the open D string. Then the note G on the D string, followed by the open G string. This is the one that I tuned back up. I'm going to just double check this one more time. Now the way the guitar is tuned, we're going to have to move over to the 4th fret to play B on the 4th fret of the G string along with the open B string. And then we're going to finish up on the 5th fret again. We're going to play the note E on the 5th fret of the B string with the open E string. Another thing I like doing as a check
is playing natural harmonics at the 5th and the 7th fret. So I'll go ahead and do that now. I'm going to play the natural harmonic at the 5th fret of the low E string, and then the 7th fret of the A string. Repeat that on the next two strings. And then the next two. The only one you can't do this for is the G to B string, so I'm going to go and use the method that we used previously, so that at the 4th fret. And then finally back to the 5th and 7th fret for the last two. Once you develop an ear for harmonics and you have some practice using them, just in songs or just as a nice little change of tone if you're improvising, once you get a feel of playing them and playing them cleanly, you can also use this method to check if your guitar's in tune. It's the one that I actually use the most. I'll typically check with harmonics, and then before I get into practicing, I'll just strum some chords just to make sure that the chords are sounding good. If they're not, you'll know right away, and then you'll make an adjustment. So I usually finish off by just strumming some chords just to make sure everything's sounding good. And now I'm ready to practice.
So now I'm going to take a moment to show you guys how to tune using a portable tuner. This is probably the most common way that you can tune. It's geared for electric guitar and electric bass instruments. And I believe this is my first tuner that I ever purchased, and I still have it to this day. The nice thing about this tuner is that you can take it with you wherever you go. You don't need to be plugged into any fancy interface. It's very much a tuner that if you're at home practicing, you can plug into to check your tuning and then practice. If you're working on a tune by ear, or going through some sheet music, or if you're jamming with friends at a rehearsal, you don't have a pedal board yet, which is totally cool. You just got an amplifier, maybe a pedal for switching your clean to dirty channel, your amp, something like that, which was my case when I was starting out. So really handy. Just take it out of your gig bag, turn it on, plug in, and check your tuning. So let me go ahead and show you how this works. Powered up. We have a display, and I have mine set to the guitar setting already. This also tunes bass as well, but let me go ahead and go through and show you how it works for guitar. So there's a display with a gauge, there's a needle on the left, and what you want to do is you want that needle to line up to the middle of the gauge. So I'll start with my low E string. You can see that's pretty close, just right around there. That's the A string. The nice thing about this is that it tells you what note you're playing, which is nice. D. G. B. And the high E string. Alright. So my guitar is pretty close. For the most part, it's in tune. This is kind of sensitive. Let me check my high E string again, just to show you what it would sound like if I'm not in tune and we're tuning to pitch.
So you can see that it's showing that it's flat. The LED for the flat signal lights up. So this is below pitch. So what you want to do is then start tuning and check. And the more and more that you tune up, the closer it gets to being in tune. And we can see that that's a lot better right there. It's pretty much in tune. A good rule of thumb is when you're tuning, you don't want to tune flat, you want to tune up. So if you are out of tune, say for example you're sharp, you'd want to tune down a little bit and then tune back up to pitch so that the string sits in tune and doesn't slip on you. If you're tuning flat, you can slip out of tune a little bit. So let me show you a quick example. So I'm going to take my G string. It's going to be sharp. So I'm going to go down. So I'm tuning down. Purposely flat and then back up to pitch. Okay, so that's pretty much how you would tune using a tuner. Really quickly while we're here, not all popular music's in standard tuning. You might be into music that's in a slightly different tuning. One of the most common is tuning down a half step. So artists like Jimi Hendrix, for example, I believe Van Halen also. One of my favorite rock bands growing up was Guns N' Roses, and I think all of their songs that they wrote was a half step below standard. So a nice feature of this tuner is that you can actually tune a half step down. If you hit this flat button right here, it'll show a flat on the indicator on the left side, and then you can go ahead and tune everything a half step down. So now if I hit my E string, it's going to show as being sharp. Yeah, let me try it again. There we go. So now it's showing that it's way sharp. So then I would actually detune or go all the way down until I'm in tune 1/2 step below standard. And it would be the same for the other strings. Like if I hit my A string, that's also going to show as being sharp. And it's actually not registering at all, so but same kind of idea. If you wanted to tune down a half step, in a perfect world you'd have a different guitar that stayed 1/2 step below standard at all times, but we know in a real world that's not always possible. So if you have just one guitar starting out and you want to play songs that are 1/2 step below standard, you would take your guitar and tune out a 1/2 step. So let me show you just one string here, the D string, for example. Now you can see as I'm tuning down, now we're in tune, 1/2 step below standard. So this would be tuning to essentially E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, B flat, and E flat. So that's just a quick example. If you guys are interested in seeing how to tune other tunings, tuning your whole guitar down a 1/2 step, or different drop tunings, leave a comment. Let me know, and I can certainly do a future video covering that. So now I want to take a moment to demonstrate how to tune using a tuner pedal. This is something that's going to be really useful, especially if you have any interest to play any kind of live gigs. If you decide to join a band, it's an essential pedal for your pedal board. So once you kind of get to that point where you're thinking about playing out, or you're thinking about using pedals, this is going to be probably one of the first pedals that you're going to want to get. And they all kind of work the same way. Essentially, you'll step on it to turn it on and off. Mine is engaged already, so once you step on it, then you should be able to bypass your amp. So you won't hear anything out of your amplifier, but you will be able to tune. And I'll go ahead and I'll tune the strings low to high, and we can see how this works. This is a strobe type tuner. It's got a little dial on it. If you're in tune, the LEDs on the top will kind of line up on the very top of the circle. And this one also tells you the note that you're playing as well. So that's pretty close. I'm going to go ahead to the A string. D. B. And E. And we can see my E string's a little out of tune, so my high E string, I'll go ahead and tune that up. And these are very, very useful, especially between songs. So if you are playing and you finished a tune and you're about to play another tune, for example, and go ahead and see if I can bypass it real quick. Alright, so now we're going to turn it back on. You see the G's a little flat now, so I'll tune that back up to pitch. Yeah, actually it's pretty close, but there's a slight micro turn right there. What does happen from time to time, although it didn't happen there, if you're playing a song, you're doing a solo, you're bending your strings, or maybe you have a fresh, a fresh set of strings on your guitar, and you play a gig, and then you finish playing a song or two, you might notice that one of your strings goes out of tune slightly. And the tuner pedal is just a great way to quickly check if you're in tune between songs. If your ear picks up on something that doesn't sound quite right, you can quickly check your tuning between songs. It's also good if you're going between tuning. So if you're using the same guitar, going from standard to like drop D tuning, for example, just to be able to go back and forth between those two. Although it does make more sense to have a guitar and drop D tuning, but if you're just starting out, maybe you only have one guitar, definitely a way to change tunings between songs, as long as we're not talking about something drastic. If we're talking about like drop D, that's fine, but like an open type tuning, you probably want a second guitar for that. But just a really good way to check your tuning before you're going into the next song. One thing that's always a big buzzkill is being out of tune, especially if you're playing with other people at a rehearsal or at a gig. And usually other musicians will pick up on that right away, and so will your audience. So definitely a must-have for your pedal board, and pretty straightforward. Once it's on your board, just put it in your chain, on, off, or bypass, and then you can quickly check the tuning of your strings. So now I want to take a moment and show you how to tune your guitar to another instrument. If you have another guitar that's already in tune that you can use as a reference, that'd be great. I still do that from time to time. Another thing that you could use would be a piano or a keyboard. The nice thing about pianos and keyboards is that they keep their tuning. They don't really go out of tune, so they're also a great reference that you could use. I'm going to go ahead and use my Arturia Mini Lab keyboard here, and I'm going to start with the low E string. So I'll play the note on the keyboard first and then check it on my guitar. Let's move on to A. D, G, Alright, if you're hearing what I'm hearing, it sounds like my G string's out of tune. Let's check that pitch one more time. I'm gonna go ahead and tune this up. It sounds like I'm flat. And I'll check it one more time. Alright, it sounds good now. Let's go ahead and move on to B. And finally the high E string. And I always like to do a quick check when I'm in tune using the 5th fret method or harmonics, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And there you go, tuning to another instrument. So now I'm going to talk about tuning your guitar using a smartphone app. The app that I use is a free app called Guitar Tuna, and the basic standard version does a really good job in a pinch of tuning your guitar. So very simple, you'll play each string open a couple of times, and you want that icon in the top center portion of the screen to line up with that center line that's cutting through the headstock. I'm going to go one by one with each string here. So in this case, my guitar's already in tune, but say we have an instance where we're a little out of tune. For example, the G string, that's a common string that goes out of tune just from playing and string bending and things like that. We go through one more time just so that you can hear the difference there. So we'll start back with E, A, D, and then when we get to G. Okay, so you should also, in addition to seeing that icon being flat or off to the left, you should also hear that the note itself is not quite right. And you can check this using the 5th fret method. You do hear that dissonance. So we'll go ahead and we will tune this up to pitch. And remember, when you're tuning, you want just small adjustments. So you're turning the capstan very slightly. I would recommend no more than a quarter turn. And there we go. And then the last 2 strings should be in tune already. So this is another good option if you have a smartphone. I use this one. I'm sure there's other ones out there. And it allows you to tune your guitar in standard for free. There are, I believe, some other tunings here. Looks like you can do a bass guitar and a ukulele as well. For guitar, you do have some other options. However, those are paid. Once you develop an ear and a feel for tuning, you'll find yourself not really needing paid versions, or you can start with standard tuning and then adjust from there. So, but for starting out and for just tuning your guitar to standard, which is where you're going to be spending most of your time as a beginner, something like this really works. I want to take a minute here to show you how you would tune your guitar using a DAW. I use Logic Pro X, and what you'd want to do is open up a project. You're going to go to the top of the screen, and there's a tuning fork icon over here. So go ahead and click on it. Once you do that, it brings up another pop-up window here. And the idea is the same. You have a gauge here with a needle in the middle, and as you tune each string, you're going to want to line up with the 0 here. So we'll go ahead and start low to high with the low E string and work our way up. And there you have it. And we could use some of the other methods to check this as well that we've learned already, like the 5th fret method or harmonics at the 5th fret. So that's tuning using a DAW. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to use a website to tune your guitar. What I like to do is I just like to go to a search engine like Google, type in guitar tuner, and then I use Fender.com. And it's usually one of the first ones that shows up in the search results. So I'll go ahead and click on it. It takes you to their tuner homepage. They have a few different options here: acoustic, electric, bass, and ukulele. For this demonstration, I am tuning my electric guitar, so I'm going to go ahead and pick the electric guitar tuner option. When you get to the next page, you'll notice a picture of the headstock with the strings on the left, from low to high, E, A, D, G, B, E. And then on the right side, we have the different tunings that they offer. Standard tuning is selected by default. And then you have different drop tunings, open tunings, and half step down, half step up, that kind of deal. I would recommend for now, if you're new to tuning, to stay with standard and get a good feel for what your guitar sounds like in standard tuning. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and one by one play the strings and then check it on my guitar and see if my guitar is in tune. So I'll start with the low E string.
D, G, B, and the high E string. Okay, we can hear that my high E string is out of tune slightly, so I'm going to go ahead and check the reference pitch again. Remember, when you're tuning, you want small adjustments, small micro turns on the capstan. You don't want to overturn it, or else you'll tune too sharp. So little adjustments until you get the string to pitch. Okay, and there we have it. Guitar is in tune. With the website, you don't have a way of directly interfacing your guitar with the website, so it's not going to tell you where your note lines up exactly, like if you were going to use a portable tuner or, tuner in like a DAW. But once we're in tune, you could use some other methods like the 5th fret method or harmonics, just to check if your guitar is in tune with itself. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And there you have it, tuning using a website. A great option if you're at home, just want to quickly check your guitar. Your guitar might have gone out of tune. Looking to get some practice in at home. Don't have your portable tuner, or you're not plugged into a pedal board. Maybe you're playing through an interface. A real quick and easy way to do it if you're doing some practice at home.
Thanks for checking out this video. I hope you guys found it helpful. If you have any questions or feedback, please leave them in the comments below, and we'll see you guys in the next one.